Today I just wanted to change pace a little bit and take a look at a movie called New Year's Day. This is a 1989 film. It's more of a drama than anything else, and honestly for me the only upside in watching this was discovering that David Duchovny was in this film, because I have no idea who any of the other actors are. They are decent actors, but David Duchovny is just handsome, I'm not gonna lie. But that was pretty much the only upside for me in watching this film. But basically it is kind of a film that takes you through the events of one day in the lives of 4 different people. So you have a man who has recently come off of a divorce. He is moving back to New York from LA, and he's moving there with the understanding that his new apartment will be ready for him on January 1st. This is his sublet apartment. And unfortunately, there are 3 young women. They're very kooky in very different ways, but they're under the misunderstanding that they have the apartment through the 1st. So they assume the 1st is their last day, and they're preparing to throw a party. I guess kind of like a New Year's / going away party, but they're all going off to their own separate lives to do separate different things. One young woman in particular is moving to New York, and she has kind of like this whole messed up deal with her boyfriend, who is played by David Duchovny. He is very much a serial cheater, so she cares for him, but she's tired of all this nonsense. She wants to get away and start fresh, and quite understandably, you can't blame her for that. But he shows up just a few hours before the party is to start. She says, well, we'll talk this over and we'll see if we can work things out. Obviously, him being who he is, doesn't really waste any time in trying to pick up girls at this party while she's going around doing her own hosting nonsense and whatnot. So from the outsider's perspective, yeah, he's not very serious about her at all. But this man who was to move into the apartment, obviously he stayed the night there. Someone gave up their bed so that he can rest, because obviously he'd been traveling, and he has stuck around through the party. Obviously he's just waiting for them to, get out so that he can move on with his life. But so he sits down this young guy, the character's name is Billy, and he's just kind of questioning, why do you do this to people? Why are you, basically just being such a foul up? And they kind of have this whole little psychoanalysis moment in which he's like, well, my mom this and yada yada, and I feel that I can't trust people and I have to take the preemptive strike, and you know how it goes. But they have this very real conversation in the middle of this party filled with just very kooky and superficial people. You have a psychiatrist saying that in order to cure his patients of love, he insists on having sex with them, and there's all of this other crazy nonsense going on throughout the party. And they all seem like very intelligent, well put together people, but observing and listening to their conversations, you discover that they're all nuts and they're all a mess. But that's what makes them more relatable, because it very much makes them like real people, because who in the world actually does have it all together, and who in the world isn't a mess at one given point in time? The thing is, we just have a very concentrated group of people that are a mess. But there's a young woman also living in the apartment, and her deal is that she wants to give up on men altogether, and she wants to raise a child by herself. We later discover that she's actually in love with Billy's girlfriend, who is her roommate, and that later on presents a big mess in itself. Obviously she sleeps with Billy, not because she actually cared for the guy, but because she wanted to feel closer to the woman that she actually has feelings for. So it's not necessarily an issue with a friend betraying a friend, it's just kind of a friend acting messed up because she's in love with her friend that is going away. But you know, everything in there is just very, like I said, it's just very kooky, it's very interesting, and it's kind of like Dazed and Confused before Dazed and Confused was even a movie. So you're basically just looking at these random events taking place in the day of all of these random people's lives and just observing. And that's really where you draw the whole meaning and perspective from this film, is just from observing them and reading into it what you will. Because if you were to go into this film and expect like an actual movie that was very structured, you're not going to get that here. You do get some character development and you get to know the characters before the party actually begins, where the whole bulk of the movie takes place. But if you're more interested in a structured film with a defined storyline, this is not the movie for you. But it is very interesting just to take a look. It's not a film that I would watch again, but I was curious and I just wanted to take a look at something different. Plus, you know, in my common complaint is you very rarely have movies that take place on New Year's Day. It's usually New Year's Eve. So for me, that was also part of the draws. I wanted to watch something that took place on the actual New Year's Day, because that's still part of the whole holiday kickoff and whatnot. So that was also just another reason why I wanted to watch this. I just got a bit of unexpected eye candy while I was at it. But yeah, I mean, it's a fairly basic film. It's left open to interpretation. But that's pretty much all there really is to it. It's like I said, it's not one of those stories that will just spoon feed you the events and whatnot. You really have to look and observe and just read between the lines. But it's an interesting film. I definitely will not be watching it again, but it was an enjoyable show. But that is all I have for you guys today, and I will talk to you later.